Hi, my name is Dr. Chris Jochum. I'm the chair of the Department of Teacher Education here at Fort Hays State University. And this past June, I, along with two of my colleagues and co-sponsors, Dr. Elodie Jones and Dr. Betsy Crawford, were fortunate enough to take 18 students, most of whom are going to be future teachers and others who are studying Spanish. We did a 10-day trip to Costa Rica. I think the most memorable moment from being abroad, and not just this trip, but others that I've been fortunate enough to be on, is you truly see students go through this process of initial excitement because they're going somewhere new, followed by what we could term as maybe a mixture of culture shock and homesickness. They go through the process of trying to figure out this new environment, be it the language, the food, the customs. And then what makes it the most memorable is in a very short period of time, they get to where by the time we're ready to leave, most of them are not ready to leave. And they've truly become comfortable in what used to be a very foreign country to them, foreign food, foreign customs. And so I think to me, the process that they go through is the most memorable. And quite frankly, that's I think one of the biggest reasons that we take students abroad is for that life-changing process. Oh, I think they would probably list a lot more than I would by simply observing them. But the big ones that come to mind are acceptance, understanding, adaptability. They have now learned how to not only survive, but I would say thrive in a foreign culture, a foreign country. Sometimes we forget that a lot of our students on campus have never left the state of Kansas. Some have never been on an airplane. I think all of the students now would tell you that they've also attained the life skill of how to make travel arrangements that involve a plane ride, not only out of state, but to another country. They know how to get a passport, how to go through customs. But again, personally, I think they've acquired skills that are going to make them better people down the road, going to help them as professionals, and big picture is they have a greater understanding of people who, even though they don't act like them and think like them, they still appreciate them. And this is one of the most rewarding aspects of studying abroad. Instead of just one student, I think it's safe to say we witness this in multiple. And I think the biggest area of witnessing growth is just that transformation. So when we all start off, they're a little scared, homesick, unsure. And then by the end, I think it's safe to say that most of our students in one way or the other said, this was a life-changing experience. I had no idea that there were people in the world that thought this way, acted this way, ate these types of foods, you name it. And especially for future teachers, it was very impactful because it gave them insight into how we educate students across the world, not just within the state of Kansas or the United States. I think international education and higher education is almost a necessity now. Clearly we know it supports what we call our high impact practices by focusing on diversity, global experiences. But I think beyond that, it's a great component not only to any type of program of study or curriculum, but it also really targets the extent to which we can educate the entire student. So in addition to the courses that students take and the experiences they have through internships and all of those things, it gives them a life-changing experience that without a doubt is going to help them not only in their career but in their personal lives. I think for students in today's college experience, studying abroad is very relevant. I would say we're at the point to where some type of international experience is necessary, but in and of itself, not sufficient. We are preparing them for a global marketplace, if you will. And so in today's college experience, I would go so far as to say a college or a curriculum that doesn't at least offer students study abroad experience is not giving them everything they need to be successful. I think we're at the point now to where it's essential that we all try to include some aspect of global learning diversity in our curriculum. So two primary ways is first, we can sponsor trips that are not necessarily tied to a class, or I think more preferably, we need to, every department on campus has some type of global connection. I think the world we live in now, we'd be doing our students a disservice if we didn't. So I would encourage anyone to just look at your curriculum. What are the strands or elements to it that truly reach beyond the borders of Kansas and that of the U.S., and go from there. What do we need to include in our curriculum that'll make our students more knowledgeable and competitive on a global market? In this case, there are now people in Fort Hays State, you name it, the host families with whom our students stayed, some of the operators, the tour operators that helped us, be it zip lining or take various tours, the language school that we visited. There are people in Costa Rica that now know that Fort Hays State is a great university in western Kansas. Many of those families, and certainly the school that we studied at, actually have Fort Hays swag. The students brought them coffee mugs, pennants, pencils, you name it. And so not only do they understand more about us and how we do higher ed, if that's a word or phrase, but they learn about Fort Hays and Kansas. To be honest, when faculty and staff have approached me about doing this, the first thing I actually tell them is you need to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. First of all, you preferably need to have been abroad, maybe been part of a study abroad experience. It certainly helps even if you don't speak the language of the country you're going to. I think being bilingual brings with it certain life experiences that make you a better sponsor. The other thing that I would say is if your goal is to take a vacation that just happens to be with Fort Hays and our students, that's not the reason. It is a very service-based venture, I would say, and so it's really more work for the sponsors, but you do it so that the students can have a great experience. So first and foremost, I would tell faculty to really reflect upon what their intentions are, what they hope to gain, and really look at their own background and experiences to make sure that they are capable, because if they don't have international experience, it's not a good idea if both faculty and students are experiencing culture shock, homesickness, and just all of them are unaware of their surroundings. That doesn't really lead to a really great educational experience. The biggest takeaway that I've learned, actually both as a student many years ago and then as someone who has sponsored students over the years, is it is truly a life-changing experience. Whether students are gone on a short-term trip or stay an entire semester. And I've been fortunate, dare I say spoiled over the last 15 years to take hundreds of students abroad, and without fail, they always say, "This changed my life." Oftentimes they don't realize it until maybe after they return and they reflect, but the biggest takeaway is that it is a life-changing experience, and you cannot substitute it with any other experience other than going abroad and investing that time in the culture and with the people.